Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'd like to open this Board of Selectmen meeting, regular meeting of Tuesday, June 16th, 2020. Paul, do you have your
Yep.
flag?
Yep.
All right. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and justice
justice
for
for all.
all.
Thank you very much. First order of business is consideration of approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 2nd, 2020.
I'll make the motion, we accept those minutes.
All right.
second,
Okay. Moved by Paul, seconded by Rich. Any corrections? Any comments?
No,
And hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
aye,
I'm going to make a motion that we also add, since this is a regular meeting, I'm going to make a motion that we add consideration of approval of the minutes of the special meeting of June 8th. That was very short when we had for a couple of special items. So on the motion to add this to the agenda, may I have a second?
Second,
Okay, any discussion? And hearing none, those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Okay, so now I'll make a motion to approve the minutes or accept the minutes of the June 8th special meeting.
Second,
Paul seconds. Any questions, any comments? Hearing
No.
none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 aye,
That carries. Moving on to item number 3, for Selectmen's report. I want to give you a brief update, and hopefully the technology works here. I wanted to give you a brief update on where we are as a state and as a community with regard to the COVID-19 infection and the plans to reopen the economy. And I was watching the governor's press conference just a couple hours ago, and I'm going to see if I can share the screen. Tomorrow is a big day. Tomorrow starts phase 2 of the reopening. Among other things, amusement parks, indoor amusements like arcades, indoor dining can reopen, zoos, museums, and a variety of other indoor activities. The limit for indoor gatherings raises from 10 to 25, effective tomorrow. And for outdoor gatherings, it goes up to 100. It goes from 25 to 100. The governor did indicate that those numbers are expected to change again about mid-July, and the indoor numbers would go up to 100 in mid-July, non-specific at this point, but around mid-July, roughly July 15th, go up to 100 for indoor and 250 for outdoor. What I wanted to share with you, because this has been tough on people, this has been tough on businesses. I want to show you how Connecticut is doing. This is a screen grab from the governor's press conference today. I'm sure you've read in the press that there are states where there's been a lot of pressure to open up faster. In fact, there was pressure in some states to not even close as much as Connecticut did. But I want to explain this chart because it's very interesting. This shows total hospitalization since the start of the COVID crisis that goes back to, this doesn't even go all the way back to the beginning of March. It starts at March 25th. But you see the red line in the middle of that peak. That is the highest rate of infections that we experienced as a state. The squiggly yellow line, the graph line that goes through that shows the number of tests, positive tests. That's a 7-day average. That's a rolling average. But what's interesting with this is if you take a look at to the right side of that curve, there's a yellow bar. That shows step 1 of the reopening, or phase 1. There was a lot of trepidation about would people continue to be safe? Would the infection spike as this reopened? And the answer to that is no. It has not spiked. In fact, the infections, even though as we are reopening, and as of tomorrow, 95% of Connecticut's economy will be reopened. You can see that even in the phase 1 period, the infections have continued to go down, which is it's a very very good trend, and it shows that people are taking it seriously and being safe. Now, if I can find the right command. All right, Deanne, you might have to help me out here. All right, do you guys see this chart now that has green on the left and red on the right?
No.
You're not seeing that? Deanne, are you seeing it? Well, let me try to back
Sorry,
up.
can you close out on the previous one?
Yeah. All right, how's that?
Okay. No, now go back to shared screen and go to your new one.
Okay. This is okay. Now I'm gonna share this. This is a little bit busy. What this shows is the transmission rate from person to person. The horizontal line that runs through the middle that has the number 1, that's what CDC would call the R naught. That means for every one person infected, they infect one person. What you want is to have that number below 1, and that way as time goes by, fewer and fewer people are being infected. What you don't want to be is above 1, because that means that for every one person infected, then more than one person is infected. So you'll see way over on the left, there's a blue arrow. That shows, it's a little hard to read the state, but that shows where the state of Connecticut is. Where today, even with the phased reopening, we are well below 1. We are in the 0.4 or 0.5, I think. I can't really see that. And then the states around us are similarly New England states. So there's New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts that are in there. And you can see that they're trending extremely well. Over on the other side, you see states that are in the red zone. Those are above 1. That's not a good place to be. And they even include some places that have taken some aggressive steps, but then reopened earlier, like the state of Washington. It was really Washington and California were where the first outbreaks began. So that's not a great thing for them. And I'm going to try to share one more screen with you if I can find it. Nope, that's it. That's all it is. That's all I have for the screen sharing. But the point I want to make is Connecticut, or I should say the town of Bethel, like all of the towns in Connecticut, have been following the guidance of not only the CDC, but our state and local health authorities, and it's working. So as we move into the phase 2 of reopening, I just want to let people know, let our citizens know in Bethel that they can enjoy dining and they can start to return to normal, but they still have to follow the guidance about wearing a mask, sanitizing, hand washing, and so on. And if we keep doing those things, we're going to stay in really good shape. So wanted to give you just a brief outline of that. And I'll pause now to see if my colleagues have any questions.
Just one quick question, Matt. I know there's limitations. Pardon? Matt?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, just one question. I know that there was limitations on the number of people. Well, what about the restaurants that have limited capacity? Are they limited to like 50% seating, or are there any limitations for that?
Yeah, the state has actually updated its website, and it's very, very easy to find that information. But if you go to the state website, look at the top of the main page, there's a red banner that says COVID-19 information. You click that, and there's a link. Scroll down to the bottom of the page, and there's a link down there that says latest guidance.
Okay.
And it shows every single business category, like restaurants, tattoo parlors,
Right.
day camps, overnight camps. And there's a whole manual that you click on. You can download it, and it'll give you all those restrictions. But yeah, with indoor dining, yes, there are restrictions on that. It is limited to 50% of the building's capacity. Generally speaking, that's still quite a lot of people, as long as the tables are spaced far enough apart or there are barriers between. I want to give another shout out, like I did last week, to Laura Basile and Tom Galliford, who've been inspecting those restaurants with their tape measure, and they're measuring the distance between tables, and they're also inspecting, in many of the cases where there are booths, the restaurant owners are putting up Lexan barriers or even shower curtains to separate them.
Okay.
And those are all permissive. So that works.
All right.
So any other comments from my colleagues before we move on? And hearing none, I'll move on to item number 4, public comments. Do you have anything to share? I see we have quite a few people on tonight. Please raise your hand or text Dion and she will call on you. I think you have to unmute yourself though, right, Dion?
Yeah, I can unmute them.
Okay.
So if you'll just raise your hand, you can do that. Okay, I see where Brian has got his hand raised. Brian, let me unmute you. There you go.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, Brian, can I get your first and last name, please?
Yeah, it's Brian D'Souza,
Will you spell your last name, please?
D-S-O-U-Z-A,
I'm sorry, D-O.
D-S-O-U-Z-A.
Desouza, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. Why has my car taxes gone up this year?
I would ask you, tell you what, if you can private text, if you look down at the bottom of your screen,
Yeah.
the chat,
Yeah.
please write in, send us in your question and your phone number, and one of us will call you back tomorrow.
Okay, because
The
Yeah.
mill rate for vehicles hasn't changed, so your car tax should have gone down, not up.
yeah, that's what, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I-
Thank you, Brian.
Matt, can I just give Brian the phone number to the tax collector? Wouldn't that be just as easy?
Sure.
Brian, if you'll just call, I'm going to give you the direct line to the tax collector.
Yeah,
That number is 203
yeah,
794
yeah.
8509.
Okay,
And they'll be able to go over your bill and answer any questions that you have.
okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next.
Anybody else? I don't see any other, oh, wait, we've got Brad Coates
I
here.
see Brad's hand. Yeah, I see the little blue hand is up.
Yep. So let me unmute you, Brad.
All right, am I
Okay, Brad.
unmuted? Hello.
Hi.
Are you there?
Yep. Can
Yep,
you hear
we
me?
can hear you. Yep.
Okay, good. Matt, I'm wondering when the Board of Selectmen might be meeting to discuss what is now across multiple social media pages, literally hundreds of calls for the removal of Mr. Nadio from an appointed town commission after his social media posts that referred to police as Klansmen, domestic abusers, murderers, his referral to people who support the police as bootlickers, his referral to the police as effing dog feces. I'm not going to say the words.
Yep, Thank
His
you for that.
calls, and I quote, to burn it all down, and his public rebuttal to a constituent to kindly shut the F up when she asked about a rally that he was helping organize. All of this is public material. There's been no apology offered. In fact, he's fairly recently kind of doubled down on some of this. And I have to say that a lot of people in town are expressing deep concern about having somebody who expresses this kind of animosity toward our police department, a department of the town, to have somebody like that sitting on an appointed commission. So I'm wondering if and when the Board of Selectmen are going to be meeting to discuss this issue and possibly to either ask for his resignation or to remove him.
This is really an opportunity for input. It's more one way, not really a discussion. So I will answer your question, but I want to see if there are any other comments from the folks here online tonight before I do.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, any other, I think the blue hand works best if you raise the hand because you can see that on the gallery view.
Yeah, yeah, I don't have any other audio of anybody. So I've got Cynthia.
Yep.
Kim McCorkindale. Hold 1 second. There you go. Oh, sorry, Cynthia, you're still muted. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so because Brad brought it up, I've seen the same backlash about James Nadio, and his posts were very graphic, and it just seems that see, we're in a weird time now because we have this movement, which is, it's kind of confusing, and there are a lot of issues that are conflated in it. And so there are people who support Black Lives Matter or other groups, and then there's some animosity towards police and police departments. And it just seems like, to Brad's point, whether or not, how many people are clamoring for his removal, it just seems wrong for someone who has those views towards town department that they would be qualified, or it would be appropriate for them to be on a board. And by the same token, I just want to mention that I saw today, and this is about the appointment of the vacancy for the Board of Finance.
Mhm.
I've seen, Karen Foster's postings of, Black Lives Matter, which is fine. And it's got the Black Power symbols. And, one of the big goals of Black Lives Matter is to defund police departments. And it just seems a little bit at odds for someone to sit on a board and decide the police department budget when they're supportive of a movement that is working towards defunding the police. And I'm just saying this because it's very complicated times right now, and I get that. And things are pretty mixed up, but I think we have to be clear on, you have to have some boundaries, I think. So otherwise, it could become a problem. So that's what I got. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? So any other hands popping up?
I don't see any other hands.
All right.
And I don't have anything for correspondence.
All right, well, let me, I do want to answer Brad's question and Cynthia's question. Although if we can't have any further dialogue on it, but I would encourage you to call me tomorrow if you want to ask any follow-up. Let me state for the record that I do not in any way, shape, or form condone the comments that were placed online. I think they're terrible. I don't think they're representative of our community or our police force, and I have been vocal about that, and I have been vocal in my support of our police department. To the question directly, there are no laws in Connecticut that allow us to remove an elected or an appointed official from office, and that's just plain and simple. It's not there. This issue has come up before. I have, over 20 years experience between Board of Ed and Board of Selectmen. These questions have been asked of others, and there is no removal mechanism in Connecticut law nor in local law that would allow us to take somebody off of a board. Secondarily, and this is kind of neither here nor there, but I'll throw it out to you. Even if there was, there are First Amendment rights of free speech, even when when exercising that right is extremely abhorrent. It's not a reason to remove somebody from office. So, these issues, as I said, these issues have come up. This has come up with people when I was on the Board of Ed. It came up early on with some others. It's unfortunate, but we have no ability to remove somebody. That is something that is between the elected, or in this case, appointed official, and the public. To choose, that individual will have to choose his own course of action. So if you have any follow-up questions for that, I'll be glad to answer them. You can give me a call tomorrow at the office or send me an email at a time of your convenience. My email is on the town website. Very easy. It's First Selectmen is one word, First Selectmen at bethel-ct.gov. And I will be happy to discuss with you further and get back to you. So moving on, we have no further comments, no correspondence tonight. So I'm going to move on to item number 6 on the agenda. As was, I think this was explained at a previous meeting to the Board of Selectmen. There has been a decision in the case, the assessment appeal case of Duracell, or actually Berkshire Hathaway versus Bethel. Marty and the appointed counsel, Carrie Olson, and our assessor, Elizabeth Hurt, and I have discussed this at length. We do believe that counsel believes that there is very strong grounds for appeal on this. So I'm going to recommend tonight that the town of Bethel formally appeal the decision. Basically, the decision strips $10 million in value off of the Duracell property. And to further the discussion on the floor, I'm going to put this motion on the floor, and I'll ask for a second for discussion purposes. I move to approve that the town of Bethel appeal the recent Superior Court assessment appeal decision in the matter of Duracell U.S. operations versus town of Bethel, docket HHB-CV-18-604-5322-5, and appoint attorney Carrie Olson of the firm Murtha Kalina as special town counsel to represent the town of Bethel in filing and pursuing said appeal. That's the motion. I'd like a second so we can put it on the floor for discussion, and then we can have Marty give us some background on that too.
I'll second that.
Okay, Rich seconded, Paul seconded as well. Marty, do you have anything to add on that?
Well, just a couple of things. There has been some openness on the other side to come to some other resolution other than what the judge has said, but it's still a long ways off from where we want. I think what happened was, what kind of surprised everybody was, normally in assessment appeals, very, very seldom does the town hold their own. They always lose something, but we didn't expect as much as we did, because what they did was, in a nutshell, they reduced it by $6 million in order to change lab space back to office space. That's what the judge concluded. And that was, nobody expected that to happen. And I think that's the reason why it was such a large drop. And there are some questions regarding law, whether or not the judge followed the rules the way that we thought it should be. So we are discussing it. The initial appeal is going to be to the appellate division, but I think because there's a couple of questions of law that are new, I think what's going to happen is they're going to ask that it be removed to the Supreme Court of Connecticut, all right, in order to deal with it at the time. So that's about it. I mean, I'm not going to get into a lot of the details, but, you know, it's something that's worth pursuing, and who knows, we could end up settling it along the way.
Mm-hmm. Let me just add a couple of comments, because I have had a couple of questions called into the office. Is this a business unfriendly gesture? And my answer to that is no, it is not a business unfriendly. This has to do with the value of the property and its contents. The fact of the matter is, this is a problem that plagues towns and cities across the United States, but particularly in Connecticut. And particularly in Connecticut, I say that because Connecticut is extremely dependent in our small towns on property tax. Property tax supplies, in our case, 85% of the revenue. And what happens in these cases is these very, very large and extremely wealthy companies will hire accounting/law firms who work on a contingency basis. And their strategy is to file an appeal every time there is a revaluation whether there's any evidence that the local assessor has made a mistake or not. It's simply a means to see what they can get, because they have no skin in the game. They don't spend a penny of their own money to go after the small town and try to knock down the taxes that they pay. What happens is the firm that they hire on contingency will split whatever they get, and then they all walk away. And for us, we're not only left holding the bag for the legal cost, but we're holding the bag for the loss in revenue. And that means that everybody here and everybody in our town that pays taxes has to pay more. So and this happens don't think that this has something to do with our assessor. This happens in every single town in Connecticut, and it is a problem. If you have any national companies, and I'll name some of them: Target, Walgreens, Walmart, Berkshire Hathaway in this case, many statewide companies, they all employ this strategy, and we have to fight to keep those taxes fair. And I want to say this, our assessor is conservative. They don't try to so-called soak the big rich company. They try to be absolutely fair. And I believe that we have to take this action for you. We have to take this action to protect your interests, because if we don't fight these things, then the next big company that comes along gets to win, and then the next and the next, and all of a sudden you're seeing your monthly tax bill go up by 50 or 100 bucks. And that's what we're fighting here. And I want to put that on the record, because I don't think that everybody in town really understands the strategy. And yes, it's expensive. We live in a world that legal costs are high. That is a part of doing business, whether you're in the private sector or the public sector. It's unfortunate, but we have to protect our interests. So I do believe that filing this appeal is the right way to go, because without getting into a long discussion about the law that Marty and I have had, there are some serious flaws with the way this decision was made, and how the judge valued the property. So we have a motion on the floor to approve an appeal action against Duracell U.S. Operations. Rich and Paul, do you have any comments?
Just go
I
ahead.
had a comment, and I spoke to Marty about this. That building is really still 100% occupied. So that they're claiming if they had to change the focus of it to a different time.
Oh, you blinked out, Rich. Well, Rich might have lost.
Let me pick up there from
Yeah,
there.
go ahead. We'll go back to Rich.
Yeah, we'll go back to Rich. Maybe this is to Marty. I'm sure the judge take in consideration the subleases, and also from what I understood from our tax assessor, access to some of the facilities was not available to her. So how can you get an accurate assessment?
That's correct.
Hey, Marty, you're muted.
Yeah, no, I know. Yes, that's one of the arguments that we have. But like I said, I think if you look at the record, it's been assessed in the neighborhood of the high 50s, 50 million or 60 million for the last 10 or 12 years. And there's never been a complaint. What happens is Berkshire Hathaway comes along, they buy the building, and the next thing you know is just what Matt said. There's a tax company that steps into the picture, and they're the ones that are basically pushing the matter along. There's a major lease there. 1/3 of the building, over 100,000 square feet, is leased by Danbury Hospital. But the big issue that really surprised everybody is, like I said, is that the judge came to the conclusion that you have to take into consideration the turning back of the lab space that Duracell has there back into office space, if you want to classify it as a Class A office space, and that's what both appraisers did during the case. And he brought their argument that, it would cost $6 million to do that. So he came up with a number of what it was worth as a Class A office space, and then deducted $6 million from that. And that's what hurt the case very badly. So.
Okay. Rich.
Rich, are you back on?
Yeah, I know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. It looks like you lost your
Yeah.
signal for a bit.
Basically, it's the same thing that Paul said. The building's 100% rented or occupied, and they're just trying to come back and kick the town in the butt on this. And I'm in support of appealing it.
Okay, great. All right, any other comments?
No.
Okay, hearing none, I'll try your minds. We have a motion on the floor to approve moving forward with the appeal. Those in favor, raise your hand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Final item is consideration of appointment to Board of Finance. We did receive a memo in the mail by email this afternoon, shortly after lunch, from the Bethel Democratic Town Committee. Wendy Smith has resigned from her position on the Board of Finance effective Friday at close of business this past Friday, and the party is recommending Karen Foster to replace her. So I'll put a motion on the floor that we appoint Karen Foster to fill the vacancy for the remainder of that term.
I'll second it.
Okay, all right, any discussion?
What's her background? Anything in finance?
Yes. Yep. She was, I believe she's served as the volunteer treasurer for the one of the parent booster organizations for several years as well.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Hearing no other comments, I'll try your minds. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. And I will thank you for your comments. Thank you for the participation tonight for everybody. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Paul, second by Rich. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much. I wish everybody a lovely evening. Stay safe. Wear your masks. It's working.
Okay.